Well, hey, welcome back. Say hi to my furry friend. Furry friend, say hi to the internet. Okay, we're done. Anyway, overdue. Update on this bad boy, the Beretta 92 Centurion. This is the X model for the RDO. As held true in the last video on it, this pistol will not see a red dot. As you can see, there's no red dot up there. This particular one's G model. We went over that in the original video. So what I like to do when I get a new to me handgun is any changes I make them incrementally, like 50 round count increments. So if I'm going to change a spring, I'll change the spring, fire 50 rounds, see where that leaves functionality. That way, if there's any issue, I can narrow it down to what exactly it was that caused the malfunction, right? So we're 150 rounds in. There's, well, three changes. Three. We can count here. Past the crayons. Anyway, first change was I swapped out the Streamlight TLR1 from the original video because it just kept loosening up. And in one of my last shooting sessions, it said, bye-bye. And it was Loctited and it was tightened down. So after looking at it, I think it was just broken. Like the mechanism inside is jacked up. I will contact Streamlight at some point. I'm not overly concerned with it. The Streamlight stays on my duty gun. Works just fine. This one didn't. So I swapped it out to a Surefire X300. I do not particularly care for the Surefires just because of the switches. It's a far more deliberate press. And there's no, okay, let me equivocate that. There's no momentary in the sense of the TLR1. If you want momentary, you have to press forward instead of just rocking it to the other side. I mean, you can give it a light press and it'll momentary. I just happen to prefer the actuation of the Streamlight. Your mileage may vary. To the guy in the last video that says, nobody will ever carry that gun with that searchlight on it. I don't care what this guy says. Well, you're right, I'm carrying it with this searchlight on it. And I'm not flagging the dog. He's back from where I am. Because I know somebody's gonna get down there about that too. So the other two changes that I made was the hammer spring. I dropped it down to a Wilson Combat 13 pounder. And I also changed out the trigger return spring for a Wolf/Wilson Combat unit, which they used to refer to it as the Border Patrol trigger group. And what I'm gonna do here is pause this up, take the slide off, and I'll show you what I mean, because I don't want to get YouTube ban-hammered for disassembling this on camera. And back. All right, so if you look in there, you see that, right? It's, instead of the traditional Beretta trigger return spring, it is basically a loop and a dog leg that goes against the frame of the pistol. And what it does is it gives you a more linear feeling trigger pull. Now, let me see if I can actuate this on camera so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So there it is in single action, right? So there's the trigger press. I don't want to let it slam into the frame too hard. And there you go. Now, maybe from double action, you'll be able to see it better. See what I'm saying? Gives it a more linear feel and a better, or a more even feeling range of motion. So put this down here where the YouTube gods can't see me do it. Put the slide back on, and there you go. So now I don't have to worry about slamming it into the frame. And the dog left, so we don't have to worry about the safety Sally saying I'm flagging my dog with an empty pistol. So that was a single action. I don't know if you can see that. Let me try it with my thumb. It's just a more... It's going to be difficult to show it on camera, but it's a more even resistance through the pull of the trigger. And a more even feel through the reset. Now, I know somebody's going to say, do the Langdon trigger bar. One thing at a time. So I did the 13-pound recoil spring after doing this. There were no failures whatsoever with the trigger return spring. Dropping it down to a 13-pound hammer spring, I read on the interwebs that you could have a problem with NATO spec primers. So that's kind of concerning because pretty much all I shoot other than these little pills, the old Federal HST, is NATO spec ammo. So obviously I wanted to see if there was going to be any failures to fire. There were zero. No failures to fire. As a matter of fact, the 50 rounds that went through it on the trigger return spring were also NATO spec, and that hotter ammo just does wonders for smoothing things out. So at this point, I'm 150 rounds in. And yes, this guy is going to carry it with that searchlight on it. In the same holster that I've been carrying a Beretta with a Streamlight, with a Surefire X300 on. So at this point, I'm good to go with that setup as an everyday carry. This pistol was going to fail, it would have done it by now. And I know, 500 rounds on a carry gun. Yeah, I used to be there too. At this stage in the game, I'm not. Reliability hiccups are going to show up early, especially when it comes to do with springs and weights and, the cool guys that file shit down and can't leave it alone. Which is why, like I said in the initial video, I was going to do whatever internal changes and shoot through the, break-in period of the gun before I polished anything, because I want to see how it polishes itself out, being this is a newer production gun, and it feels physically smoother than my M9A1 did when I pulled it off the shelf a few years ago. So, where I'm at with this is, again, we're good to go on it for carry purposes. It hasn't seen a red dot. It will not see a red dot. If there's anything new, exciting, and needful to update, I will do that. I don't anticipate there being any groundbreaking, earth-shattering updates made on this particular pistol, just because it's a Beretta, they work. It's either your cup of tea or it's not. I need some more trigger time on it, just because I shoot my duty Glocks more than I shoot this gun. Hey, good for you if you shoot like Ernest Langdon with a Beretta. I'm not quite that good with one yet, after all these years, because I end up going back to a duty Glock. That's another story in another video, because my M9A1 was supposed to be my duty gun. Yeah, we'll get to that in another one. Anyway, that's what I've got for you on this today. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, 150 rounds in, no hiccups. I don't anticipate anything at this point. if I do, I'll let you know. The only thing that I don't know if you can see, the extended magazine release. I noticed this felt sticky and gritty when I bought the pistol, and I couldn't figure out why. It's polymer. I don't understand where that came from, since the Beretta extended mag release is metal when you buy it off their website. I mean, it works fine. It's not a 30-round magazine, by the way. It is a factory 18-round magazine. You can see that. So if the YouTube gods get frisky, you guys saw it first. It's worn in a little bit better than it had. Initially, there was a little bit of hanging up on it. That's pretty much the only complaint that I have. Other than that, thumbs up for this one. It stays in the carry rotation daily. When I'm not in uniform, it stays on my bedside when I'm at work. That way, the missus has it handy. She's closer to this than she is to hers. Anyway, be safe. Watch your six. Out for now.